Check out the description for other projects that feature this stitch. Raspberry Stitch Scarf Revisited. This updated video demonstrates a unique cast-off option and is a thorough step-by-step guide. So let's begin. In this project I'm using Freedom Wool by Twilleys of Stamford. Now it's a chunky yarn requiring a 10mm needle, so for results similar to mine, marry the ball band tension. Now if we look at the scarf edges, we've got a 1 stitch selvage to either side in garter stitch, and I think this mimics the little purl-wise knobs that you see throughout, so it gives it a nice simple edge. So for this scarf you need to cast on 34 stitches. Now that's a multiple of 4 plus 2 stitches. I've got 1 stitch to either side to act as a selvage, and then I've got a multiple of 4 in between, so I've got 32 stitches plus 2. So although I'm a little ahead of you, what I'm about to show you is row 1, so this would be your first row after casting on those 34 stitches. So row 1 will be a right side row, and we're going to begin by knitting 1, and that's to establish the selvage, and then we're going to purl all the stitches in between. So I am going to purl all the way along until I reach my last stitch, and then I'm going to knit that very last stitch. We just want to purl this right side row, and then when we get to the last stitch we're going to knit that last stitch. So I'm going to show you the entire rows, so all 34 stitches will be demonstrated, as it's only 4 rows to this main pattern repeat. And what that means is you keep repeating those 4 rows to build up the main fabric to your scarf. So close to the end of the row, a few stitches to go. That's our last purl stitch, and remember the last stitch, yarn to the back and knit that last stitch. So that's row 1. Now for row 2. Row 2, a wrong side row, we are going to begin by knitting 1, and that creates our selvage. Next, all into this next stitch, we are going to basically increase 3 stitches, bring the yarn as if to knit, leave the stitch on the left needle for now, bring the yarn to the front, purl into that same stitch, still leaving the stitch on the left needle, bring the yarn to the back, knit into the same stitch, then remove from the left needle. So if we look, we've got a little group or cluster of 3 stitches from 1. Which I believe is where the Trinity stitch name comes from. Next, we're going to purl 3 together. and that little sequence there is repeated throughout the entire row. So into the next stitch, remember we're going to knit, bring the yarn to the front and then purl and knit all into the same stitch before taking it off the left needle. Bring the yarn to the front and purl 3 together. And keep going. Take the yarn to the back, knit, purl, knit, all into the same stitch and then take it off the left needle. Bring the yarn to the front and purl 3 together. Again, into the next stitch, knit, purl, knit, purl 3 together. Purl 3 together, knit, purl, knit, and next purl 3 together. Yarn to the back, knit, purl, knit, yarn to the front, purl 3 together. Knit, purl, knit, and purl 3 together. And we're getting close to the end of row 2 here. Knit, purl, knit, and purl that last set of 3 stitches together, leaving your last selvage stitch, I should say. Yarn to the back and knit. So that's row 2. Now row 3 is the same as row 1, and remember we're knitting the first and the last stitch but purling the stitches in between. So we purl all the way across to the last stitch. So close to the end of row 3, and we mustn't forget that the last stitch is a knit stitch, and that creates a nice selvage to the sides that's in keeping with the Trinity stitch. Down to the last stitch there, yarn to the back, knit 1. So that's row 3. So let's turn the work and begin row 4. So row 4, we're going to knit 1 for our selvage, then we can go into the main repeat pattern and bringing the yarn to the front, and I'm going to purl 3 together, and yarn to the back, and into the next stitch we are going to knit 1, yarn to the front, purl 1. Notice I'm keeping that stitch on the left needle, and then knit 1. Then we can take it off. So we've knitted 1, purled 1 and knitted 1 into the same stitch, and we're going to repeat that sequence throughout the row. Purl 3 together, and knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, all into that same stitch. Bring the yarn to the front, purl 3 together, yarn to the back, and knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, all into the same stitch. Bring the yarn to the front, purl 3 together, yarn to the back, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, all into the same stitch. Bring the yarn to the front and purl 3 together, yarn to the back, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, yarn to the front, purl 3 together, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, all into the same stitch, purl 3 together, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, and purl 3 together. We're ending the repeat with a knit 1, purl 1, knit 1. That leaves us with 1 stitch for the selvage which we knit. So that's row 4, and what you want to do is repeat rows 1 to 4 until your scarf is the right length for you. Expect the width of your scarf to be approximately 10 inches, 25.5 centimetres wide. And you repeat rows 1 to 4 until the scarf is the right length for you. Now I like my scarves to be long, so I would knit this until I had at least 1.8 meters, and then I would add on my supersized tassels. So here on the right we have a knitwise cast off, and to the left a purlwise cast off. The resulting edge in both cases is acceptable, but a little flared. Let's compare the two standard cast-offs with my unique bind-off designed to emulate the raspberry stitch. So this cast-off maintains an open lace feel whilst reducing the flare. If we look closely, you'll see you've got delicate lace incorporated into the edging. So now I'd like to show you how to do my bind off or cast off in raspberry stitch. So you will need to finish your scarf on a row 1, ready to begin a wrong side row, row 2. So these instructions only apply to what would be a row 2, so bear that in mind. We're going to begin ordinarily by just knitting the next 2 stitches and binding off or casting off 1. And then what I want you to do is bring the yarn in front of the right needle, which is a quite unusual thing to do. And then I want you to slip that stitch over and treat that yarn forward as a stitch. Then next, purl 3 together. And what you'll notice as we go and progress with this cast off, I'm casting off 1 there after purling 3 together, is that I'm doing a yarn forward either side of the bobble cluster. So again, all I'm doing is laying that yarn in the front, and then I'm just going to pass or cast off a stitch. Next I'm going to knit 1. So note that that knit 1 in the pattern would normally be knit 1, purl 1, knit 1 into the same stitch. But what I'm doing instead of that is creating a yarn forward here and here. So I'm creating a bit of length, and I just found this out by accident really. I thought it looked in keeping with the stitch without making it look too bulky. So next I'm purling 3 together and casting 1 off, and then I'm doing a yarn to the front there on the right needle and passing that over. Then I'm knitting 1 and passing that over. Again, yarn to the front on the right needle and pass that over. And then when you get a little cluster of 3 stitches, purl those 3 together, cast off, yarn to the front, cast off again, knit 1, yarn to the front on the right needle and cast off, purl 3 together, cast off, yarn to the front on the right needle, cast off, knit 1, cast off, yarn to the front on the right needle, cast off, then purl 3 together, yarn to the front on the right needle, cast off, knit one, cast off, yarn to the front on the right needle, cast off, purl 3 together, cast off, yarn to the front, cast off, knit one, cast off, yarn to the front on the right needle, cast off, purl 3 together, cast off, yarn to the front on the right needle, cast off, knit one, cast off, yarn to the front on the right needle, cast off. Now this is our last purl 3 together, cast off, and yarn to the front on the right needle, cast off, and our last stitch, knit one and cast off. So I would then pull that through, and then if we turn that over, that's what we end up with. So you've got 3 versions. If we compare them, you can decide which version you prefer for the ending of your scarf. I'll quickly show you what the reverse looks like. So this is not a reversible fabric by any means. There is a definite right and wrong side. Now you'll need to create a template, and ideally you want it to be a little bit longer than the finished tassel. I've wrapped yarn around this template 14 times. Next, very carefully remove the yarn and keep its approximate shape like so. Grab your scarf and a crochet hook and enter into the back and very carefully pull through all this fabric through the position whilst maintaining the division. Like so, and then pull that through, and very carefully we want to encourage this tassel into the desired shape, something like this. And to finish, grab your scissors and snip at the base. Give a little comb with your fingers, a brush through, and trim to size. And that would be how you create these gorgeous supersized tassels. Preferably with the scissors that are a little bit sharper. But you get the idea there. I'd like to thank you for watching.